Good evening, and welcome to the AJP Northeast Asia Market Close. A 106-day war ended overnight. Oil collapsed, and Seoul and Tokyo tore to fresh record highs, while Shanghai quietly went its own way. One catalyst drove all three markets. A ceasefire between the United States and Iran, signed overnight, ending more than 3 months of conflict and sending oil prices sharply lower just ahead of this week's Federal Reserve meeting. But the three markets did not rally the same way, and the difference is the whole story. Korea and Japan, which sell semiconductors to the world and import their oil, caught a double tailwind and surged around 5% to record highs. China, which carries little artificial intelligence weight and runs instead on policy and metals, managed barely more than 1%. And inside the chip rally sat the sharpest detail of the day. In both Seoul and Tokyo, it was the equipment suppliers, not the famous memory and chip giants, that led the charge. The KOSPI closed up around 5% at roughly 8,546, a record, and triggered a buy-side sidecar for a second straight session. The fuel was foreign and institutional money flooding back in. Foreigners bought roughly 860 billion won, and institutions roughly 790 billion, while individuals sold around 1.6 trillion. But breadth was narrowed. The junior Kosdaq barely moved. The leaders show where the conviction was. SK Hynix, the high-bandwidth memory maker at the center of the global AI trade, rose more than 6% to around 2,288,000 won, about $1,520, and was still outrun by its own suppliers. Chip equipment maker HPSP jumped nearly 18% to around 84,300 won, about $56. Even Samsung Electronics, fresh off unveiling its next memory generation, managed only around 4%, lagging its supply chain. And oil's collapse lit a second fuse. Budget carrier Jeju Air soared nearly 19% to around 5,150. Won about $3.40 as plunging fuel costs sent airlines flying. Shanghai was the laggard of the region, and that too fit the pattern. The Shanghai Composite rose only about 1% to around 4,084, though the picture was livelier beneath the surface, with the Shenzhen and startup boards up 3 to 4%. China simply was not running the AI memory trade. It was running metals and homegrown technology. Strategic metal names led. Tungsten producer Xiamen Tungsten rose the daily limit of 10% to around 71 yuan on Beijing's tightening grip over critical minerals. The speculative heat sat in domestic chip and laser names. Photonics maker Focuslight hit its 20% limit, closing near 398 yuan. And brokerage Eastmoney rose more than 4%. Riding a liquidity wave that pushed mainland turnover past 3 trillion yuan for a 36th straight session. This is a reflation and policy trade, not a global technology trade, which is precisely why China lagged while Korea and Japan flew. Japan delivered the day's milestone. The Nikkei 225 closed up more than 5% at around 69,540. Its first finish ever above 69,000, with the broader topics up around 3.5%, the same narrow, chip-led signature seen in Seoul, and the same supplier beats giant pattern held. Chip equipment maker Lasertech led with a gain of nearly 10% to around 48,300 yen, outpacing test equipment giant Advantest, which rose more than 7% to around 29,420 yen. The telling laggard was the banking sector, with the Bank of Japan widely expected to raise interest rates at its meeting concluding tomorrow, a move that normally lifts lenders and would ease pressure on the yen. Mitsubishi UFJ rose only around 2.5% to around 3,242 yen. On a day this big, not even an imminent rate hike could compete with the chip and oil trade. So one ceasefire, three very different rallies, each market revealing what it actually lives on. The chip exporters got their records, the metals and policy market got a steadier lift, and across the region, the quiet suppliers outran the household names. The open question now sits in Washington. With the Federal Reserve meeting this week, does the end of the war hand these markets a durable summer rally, or merely pull forward gains that the next headline can just as quickly take back? We will be back tomorrow to see how Tokyo trades the Bank of Japan's decision and whether Seoul can hold above 8,500. For daily Northeast Asia market coverage, please subscribe. Thank you for watching AJP.